Hey everyone, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in to Relevant Jukebox, and today we're going to talk about the newest album from Kanye West, Jesus is King. So here we are, it's finally here. And now I'm sure nobody wants or needs an introduction to Kanye West at this point, but over the past 2 years his career has gotten a bit more interesting. Of course he's been grabbing headlines left and right, the TMZ interview, whining and dining with Donald Trump, and overseeing the release and production of 5 records that came out last year, all of which were pretty good. Maybe except for that Nas one though. And originally when Kanye announced a new project was coming out last year, it was titled Yandy. Well, that never happened. And even though the themes of like religion and God have shown up in Kanye's music in the past, over the past year it kind of seems like he's found Jesus on some new level, because here we are with the whole gospel album, Jesus is King. And I think this record here is one of the saddest, if not the saddest sounding Kanye album, but it's like a different type of sad from like 808s and Heartbreaks. It almost seems to me like this newfound born-again Christian persona has come from his struggles with depression and hitting rock bottom or something. And I'm sure people are gonna think he's lost his mind on this album. Now, I'm not gonna dive into like Catholicism too heavy, even though I know it is a huge theme on this record, but Kanye doesn't necessarily say anything that's super profound on this album. He's talking a lot about himself as usual, but also citing Bible verses. And yes, as advertised, there is no swearing on this record. Also, it is one of Kanye's shorter projects at 27 minutes. And it is kind of messy front to back, with some tracks that I can't stand and other ones that are like amazing. The record kicks off literally like you are at church with the track Every Hour featuring the Sunday Service Gospel Choir. And man, there's some extremely heartfelt and uplifting vocal harmonies that kick this track off. But it's actually a pretty thrilling beginning to this record, which leads directly into the next track though, Say La, which just isn't really doing anything for me, honestly. But getting back into the rest of this album, there are some really good hooks on this record from Kanye as usual. The track Follow God sounds like a textbook Kanye cut. It's actually one of Kanye's better performances on the album, and it's got this super sticky soul sample woven in. The track Everything We Need also feels like older Kanye. Probably the catchiest hook on the whole album, but I think for me the best 2 tracks on this album were On God and Hands On. It looks like Pierre Bourne actually had production credits on God. I'm loving the intensely bright synth arpeggios that carry the track forward in this like stumbling way, and the melody that cuts through is just absolutely devastating, honestly. And the watery loopy instrumental in the track Hands On is just incredible. It actually reminds me a lot of Jai Paul with its like fractured nature and all of its pauses in it. And props to Kanye for probably the most interesting collaboration of 2019 by actually reuniting Clips and having Kenny G of all people hop onto the track Use This Gospel. I'm not really loving this cut as much though. The instrumental's a little tedious, and I gotta admit both Pusha and No Malice kind of sound out of place on this cut with this less aggressive instrumental. I actually don't understand why those 2 weren't put on the track Follow God, because that beat sounds like it came directly off of Daytona. And honestly, Kenny G just kind of has this really random solo at the end of the track. But overall, I actually ended up liking this album when I had no faith that I would have. Now, I'm not exactly religious or following Christianity right now. My personal beliefs actually didn't really get in the way too much of the enjoyment of this record for the most part. And yeah, I mean, on some of these tracks, it kind of feels a little bit like Kanye's using his platform to get people to really pay attention when he's talking about how we should be following religion. Yeah, I'm just not really interested in Kanye poorly singing his praise of Jesus to me, which he does on multiple tracks on here, like God Is, and the closing track, Jesus is Lord. And that's fine or whatever, but I can just skip those tracks. This record ends up kind of feeling a little bit like Ye from last year, how we get this kind of messy, brief, and personal record from Kanye. And if you're skeptical about Kanye nowadays, I totally understand. But if you can get past all the headlines and all the drama, this album actually has shades of older Kanye in it and shades of genius in it, in my opinion. Although it is not his best work. And with that being said, I'm feeling a 7 over here on Jesus is King. And yeah, I mean, I guess it looks like we're gonna have to wait and see if Kanye decides to put this out physically, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. So yeah, let me know what you thought about Jesus is King down in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching. If you want more videos from me, make sure you're subscribed and drop a like down below. And you can ring the bell as well if you want to be notified when I put out my next review. Peace.